Hi guys, welcome back to the Stretching Samurai. Today we're going to have a fun little chronicle because I decided to talk about a very interesting subject about a common problem that a lot of people have when they go into the gym, which is basically working out the tonic and phasic muscle. And today we're going to talking about probably the most powerful phasic muscle that we have in our body, the lat. So a lot of people ask me, Pat, when you're trying to fix a shoulder impingement, should I or should I not work my lat? Well, guys, this is a big problem, okay? Because we start with a basic foundation, and mostly in kinesiology, which is the science of movement. And what we're thinking is that if we have a very rounded posture, we're going to stretch out the front and strengthen the back and fix the whole problem. Well, here's a problem with this whole mentality and approach. The lat is not a muscle that you should overwork. It is the phasic muscle. We do need to strengthen it equally with the chest and the back equally, just like Brad Schoenfeld used to say. But it's very important to understand that the lat is the most, and I would say probably the #1 cause for concern in today's programs. Yesterday I saw a program. The person actually put 2 exercises of chest, 2 shoulders, 2 tricep, and then I look at the second day, I look at 2 exercises of biceps and 4 of back. Now, what does the lat do? Now, I'm sure a lot of you out there probably know your anatomy, but what does it do a lot, right? It adducts the shoulder blade, it does a shoulder extension, and also internally rotates the shoulder. And what happens when we overdo the lat? Well, that internally rotated shoulder becomes an impingement. So I like to talk about type 1, 2, and 3 on my YouTube channel. I'm sure you've seen all these types. And I'm going to tell you something that won't surprise you. D-lat is the #1 cause of problems in all the 3 types. If you look at type 3, the overworking of the lat creates a downward rotation of the scapulus, creating this rounded posture and eventually creating impingement, shoulder tendonitis, bicipital tendonitis, all kinds of problems like that. Even in a type 2 shoulder blade posture, we have short, tight lats at the same time. And if we look at type 1, which is basically just like this, slightly elevated like this, this shoulder blade right here, the lat is actually preventing you from breathing properly. You're breathing through your neck. And also what it does is it stabilizes the scapula because you have no stability in your shoulder. So it becomes a source of a problem. So overall, when you look at a lat, it's more of a problem than you're trying to, if you've got a shoulder impingement, you're actually creating more problems than you're trying to fix. So it's very important that you understand that you cannot look at your training program like I'm going to strengthen the long and phasic muscles, and I'm going to stretch those short and tonic muscles, which is oftentimes on the left side, we've got the upper fibers of the pec major, and on this side, the pec minor, right? So we're just like this, rotated just to this side right now. So you can't look at it that way, okay? The lat should be strengthened, but in the terms of posturology, and it should be avoided like the plague if you have a shoulder impingement, okay? I'm sure that the lat has its purpose in terms of rehabilitation, but I would mostly recommend doing a shoulder extension, not going all the way back, because otherwise a lot of people, there's another problem. A lot of people do bent over rows, and what do we got, right? We're doing a bent over row, we pull and we go too far back, and now we're creating a labrum tear at the same time in the back, creating, again, a problem long-term because we overload that lat. So it's very important that you understand that the Latissimus Dorsi, oftentimes, if you've got a shoulder problem, is not your friend. You're going to need to strengthen that serratus anterior, that lower trap, and that upper trap to get more of a protraction in the shoulder if you've got a downward rotation or problems in your lat. So another thing I would like to talk to you about, which a lot of people don't know, is that the lat is also part of a posterior exterior chain. Okay, if you're a PEC, posterior exterior chain, you will need to stretch that lower back, those lumbar rectors, and the over working out of that posterior side of your body. We're talking about the superficial back line, the back functional line, because the lats are also powerful trunk rotators. So a lot of people overdo basically one arm rows and stuff like that, trying to strengthen that line, which oftentimes gets into the vastus lateralis. And then you're starting to have hip problems because the vastus lateralis is too tight. So it's very important to watch out about how much lat and how much lower back, how much posterior chain you're going to do. Now, I'm going a little bit everywhere on a tantrum today. I'm talking a little bit about the lat and how it's not your friend. And if you've got a shoulder problem, even less. But the posterior exterior chain is something that you should know before starting to fix a shoulder impingement. Not a lot of people notice. If you go on my YouTube channel, you're going to look at type 3 and type 1 routines. You're going to see 30-second stretch for the back, neck, and lower back. Okay? And this is something to release the paravertebral lumbar vertebrae in your lower back, and also stretch the QL on the side, okay? So those are always your two worst enemies when trying to figure out what's your shoulder problem, okay? So I would definitely go look at those videos, 30-second stretch for necks and lower back. And these are going to put you on the right track in finding out what is my real shoulder blade position, okay? Because I like to help a lot of people with shoulder assessments. And oftentimes, if they've got a posterior exterior chain, the results change once you stretch the lower back, once you stretch the lat, once you stretch the QL on the right side, okay? And also another thing that you need to understand is that the posterior exterior chain creates a lot of flat thoracic spines, which creates a lot of problems with the T8. So if you go on my channel, you're going to see a stretch called the T8, the supine T8 stretch, which is basically releasing that vertebrae to get back a nice, beautiful flexion in the lower back, because your thoracic spine is just straight. You'll have basically you'll have an extension in the cranium, and you have an extension in the pelvis, creating a flat back. And that is also a great cause for shoulder impingements. Another thing also that it does is that it promotes you to breathe from your neck, because your neck goes forward. You're getting that forward head posture. So basically, when you look at a type 1, I have the right QL that's tight. I've got both lower back very tight. I've got internal rotation of the shoulder. The head literally goes forward, and this is where you breathe through your mouth. And basically now you're having some problems with the shoulders. So it's very important, guys, that when you look at my routines, type 1, type 2, type 3, I'm going to ask you to stretch that lat. Stretch that right lat. If you feel that your left lat is tight as well, stretch that left lat. Because oftentimes, I'm going to tell you one thing. If you think that bringing balance to posture is simply to strengthen basically the back and to stretch the front, you're mistaken. There's a lot of lines that work in the body, and oftentimes, if the tighter you get in the lower back, the more your head goes forward, the more body shift, upper body, front rotations gets basically very stiff, so you can't rotate from one side, and you can rotate only on the other side. So it's important to understand that if you're going to stretch your lat and then you want to promote health and strengthen it, I would highly recommend some rows, and don't go too far. Don't hyperextend. Don't do a shoulder flexion that basically is going to promote an impingement. that promotes a shoulder blade elevation, that promotes upper trap hypertonicity and too much hyperactivity in the upper trap. Okay, so basically today, this little chronicle was not going to be very long. I'm just answering a question for a lot of people out there, and I'm telling you guys that you can strengthen your lat. They are a source of great health if done properly. And if you do too much rows and too much lat pull downs, you might actually end up hurting yourself more than you're actually fixing yourself. So this is basically what I'm trying to tell you today. I'm a little bit everywhere today. I'm trying to talk about the lat. I'm trying to talk about the lower back. But tell yourself one thing: lower back pains and shoulder impingements are mostly caused by the latissimus dorsi. And if you don't believe me, go on Wikipedia, look up latissimus dorsi, and go check contraindications on the lower back and check what it says. You're going to realize that our mentality needs to come back today. In today's mentality, we need to forget what we knew 30 years ago about this muscle, and we need to promote a healthier lifestyle, better workouts, and we need to watch out how much pulling we're doing in a workout compared to a pushing. I believe that pulling and pushing should be equal. Some people believe you should be doing a lot more pulling than pushing, and this is where problems comes in. So guys, I hope that answers your question about the lat and why I'm not a big fan of the lat. And please guys, try to balance it out. Look at your shoulder blade, see how it goes. I would highly test out, if I were you, if you do a lot of strengthening on the back, why don't you stretch it out? Take time to stretch it out regularly. Stretch that superficial back line. Do a little bit of yoga for the whole lower back. And you're going to see that your shoulder rehab will go so much better. And you're going to thank me for giving you this tip of advice. It's a simple tip of advice, but if you do it, you're going to see how fast your shoulder rehab is going to be. So guys, thanks a lot for watching this little chronicle. Remember to subscribe to my channel. And if you've got questions, please inbox me and I will try to make a little video for you. It'll be my pleasure. Thanks a lot. Ciao.